What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the GoodeBaker podcast. I'm Nick Baker. Across from me, Shane Good.
Shane Good.
And we are here to talk to you about some video games. First things first, what have you been up to this week? How's your week been?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad.
We had another birthday party for you on Friday, so that was pretty fun.
I've had 3 birthday parties this month.
Yeah, man.
All a week apart, almost, actually.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I mean, it was, it's been a slower week in the gaming world as I watched a lot more anime this week because there was just some anime out that I've been looking forward to watching.
Yeah.
So
I feel you there. Just chilling out, watching some anime.
Yeah, I finished up 4 anime this week, so
yeah,
it was pretty good. What about you, man? What have you been up to this week?
So I've been playing a lot, actually, more so this week than weeks previous. Just because I've been kind of diving into some backlog stuff. So the first thing I'll talk about is Bloodborne, because it's the less extensive one. So Bloodborne, the reason I'm getting into it now is obviously it came out free for PlayStation Plus a little while ago, and I've had it sitting there for a good amount of time. And people are constantly talking about how good this game is and how upper echelon of a Dark Souls clone it is. And to say it's a clone is a big detriment to it. It's actually better in a lot of ways than the Dark Souls games in giving you an actual story thread to follow through. It's not like super dense right now, but I'm still super early on in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super hard, like everybody says. It's so frustrating, and you really just have to be patient with it. And that's what I've kind of learned. Just kind of going around grinding, getting some souls, and trying to just get my stats up to snuff before I face anything really big, because that was my first mistake, is getting in and trying to fight the first boss, and I was just getting trashed, and I hadn't upgraded any of my stats at that point, so I really took everything aback and started using those souls towards some stat boosts.
That's cool.
But all in all, the game is really cool. There's you start out with you can start out with 3 different weapons, I think, and one of them is this switch saw blade.
Yep.
Which works like a sideways cleaver, and then it flips out into almost like a great sword, which is pretty sweet.
That's pretty dope.
And you wield that in one hand, and a quicksilver bullet pistol or blunderbuss in your other hand, and it really feels good. I think that it feels more action-packed and more in-your-face than Dark Souls, just simply because Dark Souls is so much shield sword.
Right.
And that's like the way to play that game if you're, especially if you're new and really kind of want to get good at the core mechanics of the game. One thing that is intensely helpful with this game is the plethora of healing items that you get in just the overworld. You can pick them up off of enemies. Thanks, Shay. You can pick them up off of enemies, which is a big change from Dark Souls, which I don't remember you actually being able to pick up healing items, or if you could, there weren't as many available to you.
Yeah, probably especially towards the beginning.
You would have to go back to a campfire, replenish your stock, and then go back out for another run. But in this way, it keeps you out in the world a little longer. Usually, you still have that kind of home base mentality where you go out, fight a little bit, come back, go out, fight a little bit more into the dungeon, come back, and you start to figure things out that way. And that I think is the way to play the game, because otherwise you're just getting wrecked by everything around every corner. But I did feel really powerful by the end of playing it. Last night I beat the first boss. Felt really good about that. There's this
nice.
horrible guy in this graveyard that transforms into this werewolf, and you're practically defenseless when he does that, because he's just running at you, just claw after claw after claw after claw, and you have to dodge, and you run out of stamina, and I could go on forever. But the other game that I've been playing is such a sweet relief from Bloodborne, and it's such a palate cleanser, is the new game Dreams.
Are you sure? There might be a Bloodborne coming soon.
Oh, yeah. I really hope there is a Bloodborne 2, because from what I played Bloodborne 1, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting real deep into it, and now that I've kind of let that layer of frustration over me and I've broken through it, literally, I tossed my controller, broke the rumble pack. I was like, oh, all right, something's got to change. So I took a whole new approach to it. But anyway, Dreams.
Fair enough.
So Dreams is a hard one to describe just talking to. I've tried to describe it to many different people in many different ways, but I think the easiest way is just to say that it's a tool set of vast proportions that allows you to make really incredible indie titles with nothing but your PlayStation 4 and a DualShock. And that is amazing alone. But the way that they teach you everything in this game and the way that they set you on this curated adventure that then gets you some materials to use in your own creations to get you started, it really drives forth that feeling of not discovery, creativity. It really gets the creativity juices flowing, and I'm so excited to get back and like start fiddling with my own little mock-up games. And there was just this one game that I saw last night while I was quote unquote dream surfing. That's what they call it. It was this little card-based RPG that you play this little witch and you're walking around this really nicely detailed world. More so than any of the other games that I had played, it was actually really fully detailed in the way that you could think like, oh, well, they really kind of put some thought into what this world is going to look like as just a separate entity, not just like, oh, this is what was made in Dreams. You could say that, oh, this might have been made in Unreal or this, that, and the other. So it was this little game, this little turn-based RPG that you're running around in this little world and you're trying to figure out these puzzles, and very Final Fantasy-esque where it's random battle encounters, but there's this little dial at the top that shows you when you're about to get into a fight, so you know you're prepared, you can heal up before or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just the mechanics that are built into the game were impressive. Like from seeing what we saw in the little review that we looked at before, with people just kind of creating these stupid little Spider-Man climbs a wall, or Spyro does a flip or something like that. Those are the very base level dreams out there. On the flip end of that is these experiences that are going to change the game for sure. Like that, people are going to make something in Dreams that's going to be comparable to something that's going to come out as like a AA or a AAA title eventually. Like, just for a quick example, what we're going to talk about later is Animal Crossing. I could feasibly see an Animal Crossing game being made in Dreams, like entirely.
That'd be cool.
And it's so exciting to me. I love stuff like that. And Little Big Planet was their previous title that they made, Media Molecule, and that game had such the DNA of this, but it was so much more primitive and not quite there yet. Everything, the technology just wasn't there. But now that Dreams is finally out to the average consumer and everybody gets their hands on it, you can see just the first few days the creativity that's come out, and the sheer world of games that are going to be out there, like from raunchy, horrible, racist bullshit to like the cutest things you've ever seen on Earth. It's all in there, and hopefully, you know, the former is curated out, but you know, there's going to be some amazing things in there.
I'm definitely excited to see what type of stuff comes out of it, and I'm excited to see what type of updates they push, because I can only imagine that as it grows, that's exactly what will happen. It will grow, and the makers and Sony especially will take part in kind of like pushing the community in different directions. I know there's a game engine on the computer called GoodeBaker, and it's like a very, very popular engine to teach kind of like how to make basic games, and like there's a lot of tools to help you, but there's a lot of like ability to really kind of do whatever you want. Right. And every year they host you have 48 hours to make a game. You and whatever kind of like team you have 48 hours to make a game. In that 48 hours, like you can make whatever you want, and the best game at the end of that 48 hours wins $20,000. It's like $20,000, $15,000, $10,000, and they kind of just like shrink down the top 20 get prizes, like cash prizes.
Wow,
it's like crazy.
Yeah, see if they implemented something like that into Dreams, like down the line, where people have gotten so used to these tools, where they had that type of knowledge of them, to then have that challenge set in front of them, that would be really exciting. But like right now,
It'd be cool.
They're already starting to highlight people that are creating great things in Dreams. They had what they called the Dreamies, because it's been in early access for so long. A lot of people have already created a lot of really tantalizing dreams in there just to fill out the roster of stuff, so people on launch day had something to go in there and do. But they're actually starting to showcase these people on the Dreams homepage, where it's like, these are the top picks of the week, like these are the games that are legitimately, and that's what I was talking about before, is curation. And like they're really starting to curate these things down to where you're like, here are some RPGs that you can play, or here are some shoot 'em ups you can play, or you know, some platformers. Like, it's gonna be like a free Steam for these really cool creative indie games, or even like full-fledged titles, if they're willing to work hard enough. It's really exciting to me. I can't say enough how much I'm ready for the future of Dreams. And one of the things that excites me the most is thinking on a grander scale, is thinking about maybe the first parties at Sony, like Naughty Dog and stuff like that, making small things in Dreams, like actually making some assets or whatever for some people to use. That would be a really cool way for PlayStation to get not only the community excited about Dreams in the future, like, oh, guess 6 months from now Naughty Dog drops like their legitimate Crash Bandicoot stuff, or their legitimate Nathan Drake stuff, like, oh, go wild, make your own Nathan Drake running room, or make your own Crash Bandicoot levels with like really cool like time spent assets. Yeah,
that would definitely be really cool to see happen. I think it's also like, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but there's this piece.
I kind of figured.
Yeah, I'm excited on the side of where they're allowing people to make fan games.
Right.
And big companies like this usually go after fan-made games because they have to, for like copyright infringement issues, where if it gets brought up in court, where it's like, well, you going after me, but you didn't go after that guy, so why are you going after me? Like, that's a legitimate reason in court. So it's really exciting to see that they're not going after people for like making Crash Bandicoot levels and like clearly, like, I mean, I know they're not making money off of it, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's
I'm excited to see that.
It's a tricky line they have to walk, especially with, copyrights and all that. Where there's no monetization in it, I think that's a big deal.
There must be some sort of contracting there where it's like anything that's created in the game is considered the game's assets. Must be some sort of like something like that, because like we watched, they had like, clearly there was a Shrek in that video that we watched, and that's like, that would be copyright infringement.
Absolutely, and Dreamcast would like own your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, things like this have been happening forever on YouTube and stuff like that. Like, people make these horrifying shorts of, like, especially Shrek. I've seen
Shrek
some really messed up shit. But it does bring to light a lot of questions, like how are they going to handle that if something like truly great comes out and it is of another property, like Crash Bandicoot 4 or whatever they're on. I would assume.
I'm not a big Crash player personally.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about Crash because that's like we just saw the review and there's like 400 Crash levels on there already.
And they're good.
Yeah, and some of them.
Well,
some of them are egregious. Let's be real. But
some of them are made.
Yeah, some of them are there. Totally there. So yeah, Dreams is definitely an exciting experience that I suggest that if anybody out there is into just like any editing or creation tools, like if you're into making YouTube videos, for example, you can make some really cool animated stuff in Dreams, and it's better than a lot of the stuff, easier too, because of everything that they teach you. It excites me to see, or it excites me to think about what we're going to see in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that actually wasn't one of our big topics of the week, but it is definitely a big topic of the week.
Truth.
These are the actual big topics of the week, and one of them is far bigger than the rest, I now see. But so the first one being Nintendo released their Animal Crossing Direct this week, outlining the details for the new game coming out next month.
Yep.
A lot of people are excited. Me being a very big Animal Crossing fan, I didn't quite get into the New Leaf on 3DS, but I loved City Folk, I think it was, on the Wii, and the original obviously is a classic on the GameCube.
Yeah, I mean, the original is
so
always a classic.
They dropped a theme direct on Thursday, and they released pretty much anything you need to know about as a consumer about what you're going to get into in the game. You're going to start on a completely barren island with your fruits and whatever, and you're going to have the choice of where to put your villagers on your island, so that's completely brand new.
That's cool.
Villagers don't choose their own spots, so they're like ruining your island. You can kind of put them where you want them to be.
Why did you go there?
What the fuck are you doing near my river?
I thought you were gonna say in my swamp.
You
had one opportunity.
Nah, dude, we gotta steer away from Shrek, or we're gonna get copyrighted. So the suite of new stuff that's coming to this Animal Crossing is actually really exciting for those fans. It's just because there's stuff like building tools, or you can craft the actual landscape, sort of similar to Minecraft. You can build bridges, you can build buildings, stuff like stores, Nookingtons, like all this. The raccoons in the game, you remember those guys?
Yeah.
They have a convenience store that you can get later in the game.
Oh.
You can build that.
That's creative.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, not nearly as creative as Dreams, but Animal Crossing. Yeah, it's looking up for especially the multiplayer suite of things, because that really wasn't a big draw for it before, where you could kind of have one town and a few people join in, like on the GameCube version at least. There, I think each memory card could have a town, and you could only have 4 people in a given town at a time. So this is similar in that way, where there's only one town on one Switch, but up to 8 people can join.
It's very Stardew Valley, like, kind of. I feel like they kind of paved the way for this, like.
Oh yeah, and
multiplayer.
You can definitely see that in this direct, especially because there's new ways to farm. There's new ways to interact, like you said, with multiplayer. Up to 8 people online, and 4 on one Switch with Joy-Cons, which is a pretty good deal. If you ask me, you can kind of run around with your friends on there. The one thing that did bother me though is, and it's probably going to be kind of a bitch, is similar to Stardew Valley, you have to be within like the same vicinity as the leader in the game session.
So you're tethered.
Yeah, you're tethered. So you can't go into other parts of the island if you're using the same Switch. I wasn't clear on whether or not you could. I imagine you can when you're using a separate Switch and you're visiting someone's island or whatnot. But
that's
I think there's room for improvement. I think that down the line there's a way that you could probably feasibly.
I don't know. The Switch doesn't have that much power.
Yeah.
I think that's really the limiter. I think it's probably the Switch's power that you'll find will actually.
They're talking about a Switch Pro though.
They are. There's one thing that I forgot to add to this.
Okay.
That I didn't tell you.
Throw it down.
All right. So last Tech Tips recently, 3 days ago now, they got Android running on Switch.
Nice. Okay.
So they turned Switch into a phone, essentially, or a tablet.
Right.
Still being able to play Switch games without hurting the Switch at all, and being able to play ROMs. I just thought that would be a really interesting thing to just throw out there with us.
I mean,
we don't talk about Switch much. So.
No, it is. It's a big deal, I think. Obviously, keep your mouth shut about that if you're doing that out there, because Nintendo definitely doesn't like that. But
there's actually no way for them to find out.
Well, that's good. But they can definitely find out if we talk about people doing it on here.
I'm not doing that.
No, we're totally not. But
but anyways,
it's such a great idea. I mean, obviously, anybody would want a Switch that can literally play any game from an emulation suite of things. Like, people constantly are bitching and complaining about having like GameCube games on the Switch or N64 games on the Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
And those things are so easy to emulate on regular PCs, and if they can do that on Switch, fuck, hey.
Yeah, it looks really good, and the Joy-Cons work, and like I won't talk about it too much because it's pretty frowned upon by Nintendo, but
I mean, we're not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. So long story short, they introduced a video with them playing Halo on the Switch because it runs emulators.
Right.
So, but if you're looking to find out how to do that or look more into it, Linus Tech Tips has that. They have a video out on it. It's like a 30-minute video, 20-minute video that kind of gives like a little bit of. Yeah, they can't tell you how to do it, but they can tell you where to go to learn how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
That
so
sort of.
There's like a little yarn thread that leads from piece to piece on this crime board.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool. But kind of the catch is, only like I think the first 6 months of Switches are able to do it, and after that they're no longer able to. So it has to do with when you boot the Switch into a software recovery mode, it has a bootloader in it. So you can boot to the correct program, like most things would. However, you can alter the SD card with this particular boot program in it that allows you to boot to the Switch's version of Android. So it kind of, but they...
So they built a specific Android Switch version and then implemented it into Switch.
Yep. And they also... the patch, like they tried to patch it, and it wasn't patchable. The bootloader that they used wasn't patchable. So the Switches, I think it was like 6 months. It was like 6 to 10 months after they came out. After that point, all the ones after that were produced with the hardware patch. It's not a software patch; it's a hardware patch. So there's something to be said in the actual board now where they put like an actual limiter on it, so it can't. The newer ones can't do it. So if you are looking to do it, you're probably gonna have to go buy a really like a much older Switch, and you have to get like the serial number.
I got one at launch.
Oh,
let's go break that bubble. So just to kind of reel it back in, there's I wrote down a lot. There's not really a ton to go over. If you are interested in seeing the direct, I would definitely go and check it out if you're a big Animal Crossing fan, because it does break down all kinds of things. One thing I did want to mention before we get off of it, though, is to stop time travelers, because that was a thing in Animal Crossing, the Animal Crossing games up until now, where you could change the internal clock, you could go to different events or whatever in the actual game's programming, like you go to Christmas and get some presents, or you could go to Easter and get whatever.
Yeah.
It seems like they're not going to be allowing that, and they haven't said anything like strictly saying that, okay, you're not going to be able to do it, but what leads everyone to believe, and the speculation is because they have events lined up, like they're going to update events into the game.
Yeah, I could see that.
They're not going to have them in the title from the get-go. So say a few years down the line, maybe you could do that, where you could go back to
go in time
if you didn't update it past a certain point. But I think now, where there are software updates like that constantly, I think it's going to impede the way that people kind of broke that before.
I mean, I would imagine, I don't know if it talks about anything specifically, but I would imagine at some point there's some sort of ability to play with your friends without being LAN connect, or anything like that, and I could see that being like a pretty big file corruption issue, where one switch says it's this time zone and this switch says it's this time zone, and then they join together and it's just screws the server over super hard. I could totally see that being like a stability issue.
So the way that they're combating that, though, is by implementing this new idea where you can go to seasonal islands, and it's just at random. So you'll say it's holiday season in your game, you can go to another island on like whatever, a vacation, whatever they're calling it, and you could go to a summer island. And the way it works is there are northern and southern hemisphere towns that you can make, and you choose at the beginning of your game whether or not you're a southern or northern hemisphere. So at those points in time, when it's winter here, in a southern hemisphere, it's summer. So it swaps that way. I thought it was an interesting way to do it, and also an interesting way to keep the hope alive that you're going to be able to get unseasonal things in your game when it's not quite that season for you.
Right. That's pretty cool.
So pretty cool. Can't wait for March 20th because that's going to be awesome. I won't stop playing that for at least a week. So next big thing, there's only a couple things left here on this list. I threw this one on here to fill it out, but I really didn't need it. Final Fantasy VII Remake's file size is 100 gigs.
Rookie shit.
Yeah.
Small.
Yeah. But thinking about this, Red Dead Redemption 2 at launch was like 104.
Yeah, well, think about this. For me to download Final Fantasy VII Online, it was only 75 or 76.
No, 14, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was...
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the assets aren't quite as...
Think of how much expansion, though, that they've had. And this is the first chapter.
It's a lot, but I think what they do in Final Fantasy 14 is they kind of, like, they cut a lot as they go. They trim the fat so that when they throw in a new expansion, things are pretty seamless. And they do actually... They cut out quite a bit of the main scenario because it was really fucking long.
Yeah.
Like, there were parts of it that just... You were getting, like, minuscule amounts of experience, and it was just forever. It lasted forever.
That's fair. But I mean, still, this is one chapter that's 100 gigs. Does that mean then chapter 2 is going to be
200? This is... We've already talked about it. So in the original game, what they're talking about, the scope of Midgar, that first opening scene, is only about like 4 hours of the game if you're really taking your time. So that means they're stretching this out quite a lot. There's going to be a ton to this first episode. I mean, it's really cool, and it gets me thinking, like, wow, how much of Midgar is actually going to be explorable? Like, how much of this world have they really fleshed out? And I just can't talk about it anymore because we really just can't talk about Final Fantasy VII enough on this fucking show. But, man, yeah. Gets me more excited. And the last thing on our list this week is the coronavirus. It's been keeping a lot of people away from a lot of things. PlayStation notoriously stepped away from PAX East. I think a few other companies didn't go as well. Square Enix. Yeah, Square Enix wasn't there either. So it seems like a lot of Asian companies. But... PlayStation and Facebook Gaming and Oculus aren't going to GDC. So Facebook, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's it wholly United States based, right?
I would tell you yes and no because Facebook Gaming itself
could be overseas.
Right, Facebook Gaming itself as a company I believe is in the US. However, Facebook Gaming's branches for creating like the individual games actually kind of worked very similar originally to like Dream's kind of idea is, and that was that people created games, and as they got like more popular, Facebook kind of signed the small companies. So like that's how a lot of those companies became like under Facebook's label. So I'm sure at least a big handful of them are all over the world.
Their famous buying of Oculus from Microsoft a while ago really cemented them as like kind of a contender in the VR market, at least.
Yeah, at the very least. Definitely enough money to
market
play.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's a bunch of smaller companies that have been absorbed by them, and I think it is kind of a big loss for GDC to not only PlayStation, who's one of the biggest names in gaming, but
right.
A fledgling gaming company / top tier VR developer.
Mm-hmm.
It's
social media multi-platforming. Yeah, keeps going, etc.
Skipping GDC, one of the I'd say bigger gaming things during the year.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about it. It's in one of the biggest gaming newsing cities in San Francisco, so get a lot of eyes on their stuff. So it does mean a lot for them to be skipping this, and they did drop a lot of I'm really
You're breaking down, man.
Yeah.
You're breaking down fast.
They
get the coronavirus just by talking about it?
I'm just dead. No. So yeah, they released a bunch of statements saying that they weren't going to show up, and the concerns about spreading and this, that, and their workers and stuff. So
I mean, I guess you can respect the...
Yeah, absolutely. Their hearts are in the right place. I think that anybody that's getting kind of butthurt about people skipping for this reason, or, oh no, is PlayStation like taking a step back? Are they worried about next gen? Like this, that, and the other. I think it's just all blown out of the water and blown out of proportion, really, just because, you never really know. And it's clear that this virus, however severe in whatever country that it's in, it's taking a toll on people, and it's not necessarily quickly resolved. And if it spreads like that in conferences like these where tons of people are together, it's definitely the wise move to call it good and kind of skip this year.
Definitely, 100%. I mean, just because they're skipping this year doesn't mean they're not going to be back next year, and that also, there's so many things to be said with how Sony is delivering their kind of like little packages of information now. That like it's, yes, they're skipping this, they very well could just kind of release something separate at the same time, or like where their time window would have been. There's so many different ways for them to still participate but not physically participate.
Yeah.
So you never know what they could just kind of throw out.
Yeah. You never know. You never know with Sony or PlayStation or Facebook or whatever. You know what else you never know about?
Our channel.
Yeah.
Follow us.
Yeah, our podcast, because literally... Well, hey, we got one more. One more this week.
Dude, I don't know who you are,
dude,
but you're awesome.
I don't know who you are, but I'm sorry. Dude, there's like no video up yet. But let me tell you, I swear to you, this is episode...
42? 41?
43.
43.
Episode 43. So we got, 9. Yes, 9. We have 9 episodes left until our legit year coverage of episodes, of at least weekly episodes. I think we skipped one, so probably episode 51 is going to be our actual day. But I really want at least some sort of video up for our year episode, and I'm starting to plan things, get things in order for some sound effects during the podcast. I want to play some stuff, some openers, some segment starts and ends. I want to really get this thing lifted onto its feet and at least get crawling.
I do.
So,
but do you? Well, you will if you follow us.
Yeah.
For next week.
Follow us on all our social media accounts. We got GoodeBaker memes up now. We got a meme page. We got GoodeBaker games on Instagram as well. We got our Facebook page. Check us out there. Just search GoodeBaker in the search bar. Subscribe, comment, like our YouTube page, because it's only going to get better from here. And yeah, we'll see you next week, guys. Peace.